Today, everyone hears a lot of controversy about vaccinations on whether or not they should get them, but no one really knows what they are. So, what is a vaccine? A vaccine is a substance that contains a weakened or dead microbe of a disease-causing agent. By adding the microbes into the body, the immune system is able to produce many antibodies that will help provide protection if an individual is exposed to that certain disease. Before we continue with more details about vaccines, it is important to know how the first vaccine came to be. The history can be traced back to the 1000s when the Chinese used to inject themselves with disease in attempts to provide immunity. But it wasn't until much later that the first real vaccination came to be. Edward Jenner was an English doctor and scientist that was born in the United Kingdom in 1749. He is credited to being the creator of the first widespread vaccine. Jenner first became curious when he noticed the maids who milked the cows had immunity against smallpox. To test his curiosity, he injected a young boy with material from a cowpox sore. After weeks passed, he then injected the young boy with the smallpox disease. He noticed that since the boy was injected from cowpox material, he never became sick with smallpox. With this discovery, the smallpox vaccine was spread worldwide. After Edward Jenner discovered the first vaccine, many other scientists and physicians used similar methods to come up with vaccines to many other deadly diseases such as polio, whooping cough, measles, yellow fever, hepatitis B, and many more. Vaccines can be administered in many different ways, but the most common methods are injection, nasal, or oral. Out of those three, injection is the most common method used today. Today, there are also many different types of categories of vaccines based on what they contain. The first type of vaccine is known as live attenuated. This type of vaccine contains a weakened form of the germ-causing disease or microbe, and it provides immunity for a very long time. The second type of vaccine is the inactivated form. The inactivated form of a vaccine contains dead forms of microbes, and since they are not living, the immunity does not last long periods of time and usually requires booster shots over a lifetime. The third type of vaccine is known as the toxoid vaccine. This vaccine contains a toxin produced by the disease. This helps provide immunity to the disease-causing part of the germ instead of the entire organism. The fourth type of vaccine is the subunit, recombinant, or conjugate type vaccine. This type of vaccine only attacks specific parts of the germ instead of the entire thing. Both these types of vaccines also require booster shots. Here are some common examples of vaccines within each of the four categories. For live attenuated, the most common types of vaccines are tuberculosis, polio, measles, and yellow fever. For inactivated, it is whooping cough and an inactivated version of the polio virus. For subunit vaccines, it is hepatitis B, influenza B, and lastly, for the toxoid vaccine, it is usually tetanus and diphtheria. That's enough biology for one day. Now let's move on to the controversy regarding the vaccinations.
Controversy regarding vaccines. In February 1998, Lancet published an article by Andrew Wakefield that claimed rubella virus is associated with autism and the combined measles, mumps, and rubella vaccine has also been implicated. Anti-vaccination groups and parents started to use Wakefield's article as rationale to opt out of vaccinating their children. On March 3, 2004, 10 out of the 12 co-authors of Wakefield's article released a retraction of an interpretation in Lancet, stating, "We wish to make it clear that in this paper no causal link was established between MMR vaccine and autism as the data were insufficient." With the media aggressively focused on controversies regarding immunizations, often with little regard for science, the focus has resulted in increased parental anxiety, confusion, and at times refusal to vaccinate. It's important for researchers to continue to provide data proving the absence of harm from vaccines. Also, primary care physicians must remain current on all proven and perceived concerns regarding childhood immunizations and must be prepared to make the case that any small risk is dramatically outweighed by the advantages to the child and to the society. Moving on to the relationship between religion and vaccinations. Vaccination refusal among the parents of pediatric population is emerging globally, regardless of religious or political background or geographical location. The number of vaccination refusals based on religious exemption is increasing, and now the question is whether religious freedom is a threat to public health, and in this case, to the vaccination system. For example, Amish communities who endure the myth that they are vaccine deniers. However, there is no prohibition against vaccines by the Amish Church. Other religions such as Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, Islam, and Judaism also don't have any objections towards vaccines. Although those opposing vaccines, there are Christian scientists that fundamentally believe that diseases are not real and can be healed with a focused prayer from one of their practitioners. There are many publications regarding the religious exemption of vaccines based on the rights of religious freedom. The question is whether the public is aware of the teachings of the religion on their issues. One of the first steps in resolving the situation should be appropriate communication to eliminate the essence of theological perceptions regarding vaccines.
How risky are vaccines? The risks posed by vaccines are very small. Because they are preventative measures given to healthy people, they are overall safer than medication or surgery. Over the years, many people have heard some alarming things about vaccines. As humans, we tend to worry more about suffering from some unlikely cause and misjudge the common everyday risks that are more possible. The most common side effect for measles and mumps is a low-grade fever, which only occurs in 1 out of 6 recipients, and any serious reaction is less than 1 out of every million recipients. To put this in perspective, in your lifetime, you are 3 times more likely to be killed by a firework, 80 times more likely to get struck by lightning, than to have a severe reaction to the MMR vaccine. By having success such as eradicating smallpox, fewer and fewer people come down with these diseases. This makes it easy to fixate solely on the risks of vaccines and not the outweighing benefits. Patients, parents, and professionals all have their misconception about vaccinations, the one major one being that vaccines are linked to autism. Autism is a biological-based disorder of brain development. It is a serious developmental disorder that impairs the ability to communicate and interact. Although genetic factors are clearly implicated in causation of autism, there are also large environmental components that may factor in as well. Since we do not know completely what causes autism, how did we end up with the link of autism and vaccines to begin with? In 1998, a group of British researchers published a case study that claimed in 12 different cases that the MMR vaccine caused autism. For the next 12 years, this link was studied by many reputable sources, and no evidence was found that supported this link. Because of this, the study was retracted and many scientists were banned from studying medicine. In 2011, a British journalist spoke to the parents of the children from the retracted study and found that there was fraud by falsifying data about the children's conditions. Today, autism diagnoses are on the rise, but many doctors believe that this is because in recent years we have been more efficient in diagnosing and reporting, but it is still unknown. Another common myth is that giving a newborn multiple vaccines can overwhelm their immune system. First off, infants' immune systems are stronger than most people would think. Based on the number of antibodies in the blood of a baby, they would be able to receive 10,000 vaccines at one time. Another reason is cells in the body can never fully be overwhelmed because they are constantly reproducing. Another myth is that catching the disease and getting sick results in a stronger immunity to a disease than getting a vaccine. But thinking and acting this way is dangerous. For example, by contracting measles, you would face a 1 in 500 chance of death. In contrast, the number of people who have had a severe reaction to the MMR vaccine is less than 1 in a million. So why does this affect us? By vaccinating healthy people, it prevents the spreading of germs to those that are not strong enough to get themselves vaccinated. If too many people don't vaccinate themselves or their children, they contribute to a collective danger, opening up opportunities for viruses and bacteria to establish themselves and spread. In addition, international travel is growing quickly, so even if a disease is not a threat in your country, it may be common elsewhere. If someone were to carry in a disease from abroad, An unvaccinated individual will be at far greater risk of getting sick if he or she is exposed. Vaccines are one of the great pillars of modern medicine. Huge populations fell due to diseases, and today these illnesses can be completely prevented with a simple injection. So as science continues to advance and tackle new challenges, people should not forget how many deaths and illnesses vaccines have prevented, and how they continue to protect us from potentially devastating forms of infectious disease.